Now, one of the key challenges for whichever party wins the UK polls will be boosting the country's economy. With state coffers strained by COVID expenditure, Britain is likely to see little difference in its public spending. Let's take a look at how each of the UK parties are gearing themselves to tackle the economy if voted to power. The main opposition Labour Party has promised investment in key areas of health and education while stressing the need to balance the budget. The Conservatives, on the other hand, have promised tax cuts if they are voted to power. They claim tax cuts will not trigger fresh chaos in the markets. Both Labour and the Conservatives are seeking to avoid a repeat of October 2022. The Conservatives' unfunded tax cuts had spooked markets and tanked the pound 2 years back. It led to end of Liz Truss's premiership, who lasted just 49 days before she was replaced by Rishi Sunak.
That is the height of the SNP ambition.
The Labour Party promises a firm grip on spending should it win power. It wants investors consider Britain as a safe haven. British public debt has flirted with a level totaling 100% of gross domestic product in recent months, a situation not seen since the 1960s. On the other hand, the fiscal rules are one of the sticking points which will closely be monitored. Experts say if Labour win with a majority, the party's leadership may feel pressure from its own members to relax the budget rules. A slightest change to the fiscal rules has the potential to make markets nervous. And remember, the Conservatives have altered the budget rules numerous times since winning power back in 2010. All right, for more on this and a lot to decode from the United Kingdom, of course, we are being joined by Jonathan Liss from London. Mr. Liss, thank you so much for joining us here on WION, and good to see you. As I said, so much to talk about when it comes to the United Kingdom. About a week from now, the country is going to polls and early elections called by Rishi Sunak. Now, I want to talk about the betting culture, since that's so much in talks and in headlines these days. It is not uncommon for people to vote about elections in the United Kingdom, also on the date. But this election is not like any other election, as it's being called. What are you hearing from the voters? How are they seeing it?
Well, the problem that we have with betting is that Conservatives were using inside information to place bets. There's nothing improper about betting itself. The problem is that they were alleged to have cheated because they knew from Rishi Sunak when the election was going to be called, and then they placed a bet with the bookmaker, so the bookmaker naturally feels cheated. That's different from a culture of betting on election outcomes which don't depend on any inside information. But now the problem is that you have a whiff of scandal, and that scandal threatens to take in other people who may have placed innocent bets, even if not the wisest bets. For example, the Labour candidate who placed a bet that he would lose his own election, and he has now been suspended, even though that's not cheating in any way.
Right. Ms. Liz, given that it's just 1 week before the elections and we're hearing that the Jews in the United Kingdom are in support of the Labour leader, we know that foreign policy is something that everyone's eyeing at. Do you think there will be any drastic change when it comes to UK's foreign policy in case Labour is elected to power?
No, foreign policy is one area where the Labour Party and Conservative Party speak from the same hymn sheet. Labour will be marginally tougher on Israel, I suspect, because Keir Starmer has faced such a backlash for his blank cheque support for Israel in the early days of the Gaza war. So I expect that he will be a lot harder on Israel. But, Labour hasn't supported, for example, an arms embargo on Israel. So I don't suppose that will change very much. And on all other issues, the biggest one obviously being Ukraine, Labour is exactly the same as the Conservatives. They'll be offering support, military and financial support to Ukraine.
All right, before I let you go, let's talk about the UK economy. That's one aspect, of course, the voters are definitely eyeing on. Be that Labour or the Conservatives, what kind of change do you see, at least in the short term, when it comes to the UK economy?
Very little, I'm afraid, because the parties are not being honest with the medicine that is needed for our economy, which is completely flatlining, very, very poor growth. We were in recession until recently, and there's very little sign that the economy is ticking up, although inflation has come down. Now, Labour says its priority is to grow the economy, which is great, but we also need concrete moves to doing that. And a real problem is that we don't have very good public services. Infrastructure is collapsing, and Labour needs to find ways to raise revenue. They can either do that by borrowing money or by raising taxes. And by promising not to raise the major taxes, they're painting themselves into a corner because they might not have the tools they need in order to raise revenue, invest in our vital public services, and also grow the economy.
All right, I've been speaking to Mr. Jonathan Liss from London. He's a journalist. Thank you so much for joining us on this broadcast and getting us your insights. For all the latest news, download the WION app and subscribe to our YouTube channel.